One of the best pieces of advice my psychologist gave me, she said, if you live by their applause, you'll die by their hate. And it's so true. So I try to be very neutral. I'm always so grateful, and I always tell my audience how grateful I am, and I will always have gratitude to them, but I still stay neutral to the good and to the bad, because I think if you let either of them get to you, if you let the good get to you, your ego gets inflated. If you let the bad get to you, that'll destroy your confidence. That'll destroy who you are at your core.
Yeah.
Because it's not normal to have that level of love from the internet. It's not normal to go online and have 300 people telling you they love you every day. That's not normal. It's also not normal to go on and read like disgusting hate comments about yourself as well. Like that volume is not healthy for anybody.
Quickly though, before this episode starts, I've got a 10-second favor that I'd like to ask you. The majority of people watching this podcast haven't yet hit the follow button. I can't tell you how much it helps. The show gets bigger, which means we can increase our production, and also allows us to bring in some of the best guests that you want to see, while allowing us to continue to do the thing that we love. Thank you so much for your time. Adele, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Adam. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm a bit nervous.
I know. I can see that. Why?
I don't know. I'm going to take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath. This is your world. I'm just a guest. So we're in your studio at the moment.
No, well, I'm the guest.
Well, I'm a guest in your world.
Okay.
I mean.
Well, welcome.
Yeah. It's hot.
It is. It's a bit steamy.
I love it. Well, Adele, tell me, who are you?
Gosh, who am I? That's a loaded question. I'm going to say, quick elevator pitch. I am 30 years old, live in Melbourne. I'm a content creator, podcast host, oversharer, love oversharing my life on the internet. I am very passionate about creating a life that feels good for me in whatever way that looks like. And I would say there's like a heavy focus on keeping active, looking after my mental health, loving my little dog, Franklin. He's a big part of my life. And yeah, just really looking after the people in my life as well.
And so what does a life look like that feels good to you?
Oh, one where I just feel relaxed and feel joy, and I'm like able to live in the moment and appreciate the moment, because I think I'm someone in the past that's like struggled with like things like anxiety and thinking too far ahead and overthinking. And I think when I have like my systems in place and the stuff in place that helps me feel good, I can just stay in the day and get what I need done and feel good while doing it without that stress or without that panic and without that overthinking.
Is that a skill that you developed?
Yeah. It's been a work in progress. Probably therapy. I would say that has helped me quite a bit, teaching me how to stay present, whether that's doing things like reading, breathing, staying active. The gym, going for a walk helps me so much.
Yeah.
I don't do that for like the physical benefit. It's
walking.
All for the mental benefit.
Walking's wild.
It's so good for you, and it's so underrated.
It's not underrated if you know.
Yeah,
Those
if
who
you know.
know.
I was never a walker. I was never a cardio person. So I was like, I love weights. I only want to lift weights. I have, for people listening, I have a background in like powerlifting. So I was never team cardio. And then we had lockdown and COVID, and I couldn't go to the gym anymore. So I started walking, and I was like, wow, this is a nice version of me that exists on my walks that puts me in a really good mood and doesn't like exert your body too much either, which I love.
Yeah. There's I was reading a little while ago. Do you know The Daily Stoic by any chance?
That's my favorite book.
Yeah, I just finished reading it, and there was this chapter about, you know, if you've got a problem, take a walk.
Yeah.
If you're tired, take a walk. If you're lost, take a walk.
It's the solution to most things.
After you eat, take a walk. It's just do everything. So yeah, that's been a big thing for me lately. Just like every time I eat, I'll take the dog out and go for a walk, or like if I'm feeling flustered, just go for a walk.
Yeah.
To the point where I was out on Friday night with my friend, and someone yells out down the street on Chapel, it's the dog guy.
You're so well known.
I'm the dog guy because I'm walking at just like the most rogue hours of the day and night.
Your dog must love you though.
He loves it.
Because he'll be always down for a walk, right?
Yeah, he gets like 3 a day. So
happy dog, happy life.
Yeah, exactly.
You said you read the whole Daily Stoic. Sorry to
Go on.
cut into your interview,
No,
but
it's fine.
did you read the whole book in like one sitting?
No, I mean in like
Over the course of the year?
no, in like
a few days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I get the concept,
Yeah.
but I thought
I love the 1 page per day. I'm like low commitment.
yeah. I wanted to just like
Get it done.
And I'll come back to it and I'll come back to it again. I'll come back to it again.
I read it every year.
Yeah.
I've read it for about 5 years now.
What do you think is the most impactful thing that you've taken from it? What's like the little thing that pops out straight away?
Oh, probably the awareness factor.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Like the self-awareness, the way that it's built so much self-awareness in me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like equal parts therapy, but also, yeah, one of those books, The Daily Stoic, is probably the one that I would say has done that for me. Just looking at things from a totally different perspective.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily always agree with the Stoic mindset. There are some things that might be a little bit outdated or wouldn't fly in 2024. Yeah. But for the most part, I'm like, wow, yeah, some things aren't that serious. Like,
nothing is really that serious.
Nothing is really that serious. We're just living. We're floating on this rock. Let's just enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There was when I was in New York recently, I was sleeping on my friend's couch and the couch sucked. Mm-hmm. It's like a 2-person couch. So then I went on the floor with a mattress. That also sucked. And then I got rid of the mattress and I was like, this is just my chance to be stoic. So I slept on the floor.
I love that though. You're like, I
went back to the couch.
Yeah. But I love that you tried. And I love that you tried to be stoic.
For like 3 or 4 days. Just a yoga mat and a pillow.
Wow, commitment.
Yeah. It's fine. Things you got to do.
At least you were in New York.
Yeah, I applied for my visa. So
congratulations.
April. I haven't got it yet. So
yeah. Okay. Well,
April.
Me thinking you already have got it. Congrats. You're going to get it.
Yeah, I hope I get it. Yeah. So we'll see. So I'm working through that at the moment.
Exciting.
So, yeah. So so you're a full-time content creator?
I am. Very blessed to say that.
It's a fun job to have. How long have you been full-time in this?
Since September of 2022. So
when's that?
That
year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's been a crazy journey.
Yeah, I can imagine. So before we dig into the details of that, I'd love to kind of get some context of you in your younger years, because I think they shape us as people. So what are those contexts of your early years that have led you to be who you are now?
Yeah, so I'm an eldest daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like any eldest daughters listening will be able to relate to that.
I'm an eldest daughter as well.
See?
Yeah, I get it.
You sometimes have to kind of like step up,
mm-hmm.
be the parent sometimes, also be held to like a very high standard. I think when you're the firstborn, and bless the mums and dads and parents out there trying to like raise a child, I think that is probably the hardest job in the world.
Yeah.
I'm not a parent, so I can't relate. But yeah, I think maybe the pressure and the expectation, and I was raised by not the strictest of parents, but they were pretty strict with me.
Mm.
And I turned out okay.
Mm.
But yeah, I was always kind of like trying to like lead by example and be very, by the book. And so I was a perfectionist at school.
I was going to say, were you a good kid?
I was a goody two-shoes.
Okay. Yeah,
I was very scared to break the rules, very scared to get in trouble. Didn't want to get in trouble at home, didn't want to get in trouble at school. And it was funny because my sister and I, so she's a year younger than me, we're polar opposite, and bless her, but she was like the rebel out of us two. And I was like little Miss Goody Two-Shoes. And so she would like push the boundaries and I'd be the one being so scared not to push the boundaries. And a quick example is like she taught me how to like climb our back fence. I'm scared. I don't want to climb the back fence. I don't want to go in the neighbor's house. She's like, no, let's go on an adventure.
Yeah.
So she would kind of be teaching me the cheeky stuff.
Yeah.
In school, I feel like I was a bit of a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I kind of struggled to also make friends a little bit and fit in. I don't know where the root of that comes from, but yeah, in the way that it shaped me now, I think it's played a part in the sense that I've done a lot of work to become so much more self-compassionate, so much more self-aware. Mm-hmm. And I think it's helped me become a better person as well, because it's like I know how I want to be treated and I know how I should treat people and how I can show up better for every single person in my life. And even show up better for like my community and my audience and put out valuable content and things like that. So I think I was like an average child, sprinkled in with some perfectionism, really high standards, struggled to fit in.
Yeah.
Some mental health issues in my teens, late teens, early 20s.
No, we all had them. We all have them.
All have them.
Yeah.
Had a little bit of a party phase
Yeah.
with some substances and going off the rails slightly.
Yeah.
But then became good.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Oh, I love it. So it's funny that you say that you're a perfectionist and you didn't want to break the rules, yet the career path you're currently in is pretty much like a trailblazing, rule-breaking career. So what happened?
What happened? Well, I realized that I can't keep living a life for everybody else. I have to live my life for me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you need to make decisions for yourself that might upset other people, that might upset the status quo. Because it's like you're the one going to bed at night putting your head on your pillow. If you can't sleep peacefully with the decisions that you make or the life that you're living, something's got to change.
And you weren't peaceful about the world that you were in?
No. Well, I had gotten to a point where I had a very good job on paper. I'd gone to uni. I'd like ticked all the boxes for everyone else. I had a dream job, like so to speak.
What was it?
I was a business development manager and I had kind of worked my way up in the corporate world in the energy and construction industry. And so it was like B2B sales. And I was very good at my job.
I could see you good at B2B sales.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's talking, right?
Yeah.
She can't shut
Presentation
up.
and talking.
So I was really good at that and I got a lot of praise for that job from everybody in my professional life and from my personal life. It then got to a point where this new pathway that I was very scared to lean into started to take off. And I kept telling myself like, no, I've got to stay like in the system. I've got to stay doing this because like this is safe. This is familiar. It's like what I know. Nothing really is safe now that I think about it on a deeper level. But yeah, it just got to a point where I was like forced to make the decision because of things that were happening in my workplace at the time. I had been offered a promotion. I didn't want to take the promotion. And suddenly this promotion was like causing me anxiety.
Yeah, right.
When 2 years ago, old Adele would have loved that. And she would have been so excited to get this promotion. That was like on her vision board or goals for that past version of me. But suddenly like this new version of me that existed in 2022 was like, whoa, I can't take this. Like if I take this, I'm going to be giving less energy to my podcast, less energy to my YouTube, less energy to my TikTok. I had to like make a decision to say, well, no, I'm going to give 100% to this and give it a crack because what's the worst that can happen? I fail and it goes to shit. I can always go back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Had you had some success before making that leap, or was it just like 0 to 100?
No, I had success.
Yeah.
And I needed to have it because I needed evidence that it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks before I quit my job, I launched my podcast, Your Safe Space, and it went to #1 on Spotify.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's not as bad of a leap.
No. And I was like, you know what? If it's going to go to #1, and I know everyone will listen to the first episode of a podcast, so there's like, take it with a grain of salt.
You had a pretty solid following up until before you made this a full-time. Well, I mean, you would have had to.
Yeah. So I had a decent following on TikTok. That was my biggest platform. It's still my biggest platform to this day. I had my YouTube channel for about 6 months. I had my Instagram, which always kind of sits at about half of my following on TikTok. And then my community was the one who were asking for a podcast. I got told that I had a very relaxing voice. I do a lot of voiceovers and talking to the camera. And I've had people say that they listen to my videos to fall asleep. I'm like, you know what? That's actually so sweet. I'll take it. That's a very nice compliment.
You're just in their ears, just subconsciously rewiring them. Gen Z content.
So they were asking for the podcast and I was so nervous because I'm like, I can't start a podcast. I don't know anything about podcasting.
I don't know anything about podcasting still.
You know what? I feel like most people don't, and that's okay. Like, you figure it out as you go. And you are a great talker. I feel like you've also got a very good podcasting voice as well. So,
and welcome to another.
I think I just had to take that leap of faith because at the same time, I would give advice to people watching my content or listening to my content that if there's something that you want to do, go and do it. Like, most people struggle because they can't figure out what they want to do. If you already know what you want to do, that's half the battle. So go and do it if you know. And I mean, take calculated risks, of course. Yeah. But it was calculated, and I had some success, and I thought, if not now, when? And if it goes to shit, I had to think worst case scenario, because I usually am a bit of a catastrophizer. I thought, if it really goes badly, I've got a degree. I'm very employable. I'm like a person of the system. I love structure. I love routine. I'm a great employee. So I could find another job.
I'm a terrible employee.
Oh, really?
I shouldn't say that.
No.
I might need a job soon.
It's a safe space, don't worry.
Oh, it's not. The world is going to hear all of this. God damn. But yeah, that is the complete opposite to my experience. So I could see you're very like well put together, and I could see that for you, but I think you've picked a better path. It's a much more fun path.
It's much more fun.
Much more chaotic.
Chaotic and like creative as well, which I like. And I realized that I could thrive in this world where I always thought I couldn't, because I thrived so well in this inner system, in that 9 to 5, in that corporate structure. Yeah. Because it is suited so much to my personality, but this is also suited to my personality, which has been a nice learning curve too.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
When you've done the podcast in the past, given it's quite advice heavy, do you listen back to them at all?
Yeah, I listen back to every single episode.
Okay.
I do the final edit of all of my content.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened back to an episode a while later and then felt called out by yourself? Because I've done that a couple of times recently. I'm like, fuck you, but fuck me.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, like I give great advice. Sometimes I don't take my own advice.
Take your own advice.
I try to, but not always.
Oh.
But I'm mostly, when I listen back to old episodes, I'm mostly so in awe about how nervous I was. Like, you can hear the shake in my voice, and you can hear the hesitancy, and you can hear how scared how scared she was. That goes away once I start talking.
When did you realize that there's actually no rules?
Oh, probably when I quit my job.
There's no rules to any of this.
No.
So now you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the veil that people generally in the corporate world don't quite understand, that there's actually everything that you've been told is law and fact is just made up by somebody.
Yeah.
And when you realize, I realized it very early on, when you realize you can bend the world around you, it's kind of nuts. Just crazy shit starts to happen.
It's powerful.
It's very powerful. Yeah. But only some people seem to be tapped into that idea.
Yeah, and I think that goes to that corporate world and a 9 to 5 job. Like, there is nothing wrong with that. There are going to be people who really love that structure and love that routine and love that lifestyle, and maybe wouldn't want to bend the rules or wouldn't want to pursue a different pathway. So I think it's okay in some instances, but yeah, for me, I was like, wow, I can really be like the driver of this car. Like, I can kind of do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I can change my pathway at any point.
Yeah.
And I think that was what it was. I became so more flexible in my thinking about how life worked and like what decisions I could make.
Yeah. Yeah. And what value has vision and like visualizing things been to the success you've experienced so far?
What do you mean?
So you briefly mentioned your vision board.
Oh, yes.
Which leads to visualization and really like mapping out what you want and seeing it. Did you see all of this so far?
Not all of it, but I would be lying if I said like I wasn't actively trying to work towards that, because I think at that point when I had quit my job especially, I was like, of course I want this to work. Of course I want this podcast to grow. Of course I want my platforms to grow.
Did you believe that?
Yeah.
Like truly deep inside of you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a bit woo-woo in the sense that I love a bit of manifestation.
Yeah.
And whether I was like manifesting in the corporate world or manifesting in this creative world, I've been able to like manifest whatever it is that I wanted anyway.
It's good.
So And again, for anyone listening who might be thinking, oh, that's so woo-woo, I don't just think, oh, you say that you want something and then you automatically get it. I always think, or I always work with action. Like you need to take actionable steps towards the things that you want to make it possible for you. You can't just put it out in the world and say, oh, I want this, and then not do anything to bring that in. It's two-part.
Well, I mean, I think if you aren't taking action, I think you naturally take action if you really want it. So you probably don't want it that much.
Yeah.
So what are you manifesting right now?
Oh, a few things. When does this episode come out?
I don't know. 8 weeks.
Okay, that's fine. So at the moment, I am about to launch a jewelry collection. That'll launch next week. Yeah, next week. Yep. It'll be my second.
So mid-Feb.
Yep, my second jewelry collection. And I'm manifesting for that to go even better than the first one.
How did the first one go?
Pretty good.
Okay.
We sold out pieces and restocked it. So
nice.
I want to sell out again, but even quicker.
And not restock it?
No, I think we will. I think maybe. I'm not sure.
Restock it. I think it's so much cooler just to be like
a once-off drop. Yeah.
Once-off is so good.
So yeah, I'm working towards that. And I'm also manifesting a new home. So I'm trying to move at the moment. That is possibly testing my patience a little bit because the rental market is not very pleasant right now. So
have you thought about reaching out to your audience to see if someone's leasing a place?
No. So I've had some issues with some safety concerns.
Really? Is that where things are at, where you've just had like crazy fans?
My address has been leaked multiple times.
What the fuck?
Multiple, and not in a fun way.
What do you mean?
Like in a death threat kind of way.
Why?
I don't know.
People are weird.
It's one of the bad things that come with the territory.
Wait, so run me through what happened.
A recent example, last week I'm on a TikTok live stream. Someone's commenting my full address of where I live right now. Meet and greet at Adele's house. Let's go to Adele's house. Full address. Mind you, I had 1,000 people on the live. I think that personally is too far.
That's wild. How do they even know?
I don't know.
And it was an anonymous account?
Yeah. Yeah. So the thought of then reaching out to somebody to say, can I live in your house?
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
like, that person could be a leak. And I mean, not necessarily a leak, but yeah, I'm being very careful this time.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a fine line when you vlog your life and when you share your life with the things that you keep offline. And I am very careful. I don't post in real time. People who live near me would know what shopping center I go to or what gym I go to, for example, because there's only one of those in that area. But I think commenting someone's address, making them feel quite unsafe. And I mean, there's cameras at my house and there's things in place, but it's still not nice knowing that if I'm home by myself and there's a noise or something's happening, I'm like, oh. So I'm going to be safe this time.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's wild. I would never have thought of that as a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to worry about that. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm like, come to my house, anyone?
You're like,
guys,
open, invite. All right, meet up at
doors
Adam's
open.
house.
Anyone?
See you later.
Oh, goddamn.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this leads into my next question quite nicely. So reflecting on your rapid growth in social media, how do you navigate the balance between sharing personal experiences and maintaining privacy, especially in sensitive areas of your life?
What a question.
Yeah.
It's something I have been learning. At the start, I was very naive. And at the start, I had no idea. I had no idea just how quickly things would blow up. I had no idea the level of interest that there would be. I'm very grateful for my community because 99.9% of the time I have the best people who follow me and who support me and who enable me to live this life, and I'm always so grateful for them. But on the other hand, there is people that for whatever reason don't like me. You're never going to be for everybody. Your content's not going to be loved by everyone. I think when you're putting yourself online, that's just part of it. There is going to be trolling. There is going to be hate. There is going to be that line. But when it comes to safety, I'm very careful, and I'm more careful now where as I said, I don't post in real time, or I try not to show the location of things, or even now I'm vlogging and I'm talking about going to inspections. I'm not vlogging the places that I'm inspecting because how do I know that someone then won't go on realestate.com and match up what I've shown in a video?
Have you seen that guy? I've just that dude that just can find shit around.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep. I have seen that guy.
That is crazy.
I know. Insane.
I kind of love it.
It's scary.
It's so cool.
It's so scary.
I mean, again, for like, bearing in mind, I'm a complete nobody that no one cares where I live. So like, I just find that so intriguing. And
you're not a nobody, can I just say? You're not. And I also don't necessarily
it was self-deprecating. Don't stress.
Okay.
It's okay. I'm not that insecure. But for the purpose of the conversation, I live in just the normal existence. And I don't have to worry about any of these things.
I know.
So
I try to live I try to live a normal life.
Yeah.
On some levels, it's abnormal. That is one of the abnormal ways that I have to think about things. Even I will go to an inspection and I panic that maybe someone might recognize me at the inspection and then know, oh, she's going to live in this suburb.
Yeah. You need an assistant. You're getting close.
No, I right now I'm okay. I can manage everything. But yeah, keeping my safety is paramount. I've also got Franklin, so I need to think about him too. And yeah, I just want to live somewhere where I don't have to worry about someone coming to my house and doing something messed up. There have been pretty messy things that have happened at the house I'm living now. I don't want to talk about them on air because I don't want to give people ideas, but I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
And it's just scary.
Yeah.
So just trying to be a little bit more careful now. And I think the more my account grows, the more things like that will happen.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm going to keep adjusting and adapting to. But yeah, I'm definitely not as naive as I was back at the start.
I feel like when you're in this media world and you have a following, you're kind of owned by the people because your whole existence comes from the eyeballs of the people around you, and they're all they got their own fears and considerations and wants and desires. But at the core of it, once you take a step into this world, you're theirs. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
One of the best pieces of advice my psychologist gave me, she said, if you live by their applause, you'll die by their hate. And it's so true. So I try to be very neutral. I'm always so grateful, and I always tell my audience how grateful I am, and I will always have gratitude to them, but I still stay neutral to the good and to the bad, because I think if you let either of them get to you, if you let the good get to you, your ego gets inflated. If you let the bad get to you, that'll destroy your confidence. That'll destroy who you are at your core.
Yeah.
Because it's not normal to have that level of love from the internet. It's not normal to go online and have 300 people telling you they love you every day. That's not normal. It's not normal to also then go online and have...
It's not?
No. No, it's also not normal to go on and read like disgusting hate comments about yourself as well. Like that volume is not healthy for anybody. So I'm very lucky in the sense that I've got great people in my life, and I've got a very good therapist who I think I'm her first client who's done this for work. So it's been a bit of a learning journey for her too. But without that, I don't know if I could thrive as well as I have in this, because it can be quite, it can be quite intense.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you're building the systems and getting the tools to help navigate the world, because, you know, some people don't, and you see the result. It's drugs, it's alcohol, it's like, I was chatting to, a couple of days ago, I did an episode with a guy called Big Joe. He was in the NFL and now he's a breathwork facilitator.
I saw that on your stories.
Yeah. And we spoke in that episode, about that. We were talking about energy, because he said, you know, he's played and in front of 80,000 people. And if you think about it, that is the energy flowing from 80,000 people focused on one person. And if even if you don't understand like the importance and the impact of like energy in the world around you, you can understand that, right? But those who do understand the impact of energy can understand how hectic that is.
It's full on.
It's full on. And the challenge, and we spoke about this in the other episode, but I'll reiterate it because I think it's a very important point, is the challenge then is your peak dopamine levels are through the roof. So therefore your baseline is so much higher. And anyone that understands anything about dopamine, there's a really good podcast from Andrew Huberman that speaks about this in like 3 hours. It's amazing because I think right now the people who can get on top of their dopamine producing activities are the ones who are going to thrive, and everyone else is just going to like become a zombie. So basically dopamine there's two elements. There's peak and baseline. So whenever you hit really high highs, your baseline raises. So therefore you need to have more higher highs to feel the same level of baseline, like drive and excitement and happiness. So that's what's happening. So that's why if someone's like doing a heap of coke all the time, their peaks are really high, but their baseline raises, and then everything else is dull. So we spoke about that when his career ended, and then there was this time period where he was just depressed because his baseline dopamine needed to go back down to what was considered normal.
Yeah.
And then at some point he was like, oh, wow, that's a beautiful like sunrise.
Oh my goodness.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I need to listen to that podcast.
It's the little things, right?
Yeah.
So it's I think in your world and in anyone in the public eye's world, the ability to stay grounded is paramount to your survival. Yeah. And I don't say that just to be like, stay grounded. It's like, you fuck yourself up if you do not stay grounded.
I know. You and my therapist sound the same. Yeah. Is this you?
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so that's a little side note, but
yeah.
I'm noticing that a lot more and more.
That makes me feel good to hear because I'm like, I always try and stay grounded.
You need to keep that up, for sure. For sure. And on that note, vulnerability is like a big theme in your content, right? Mm-hmm. Big theme.
Yeah.
I've actually started listening to a couple of podcasts. I've really enjoyed them.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed them.
That makes me nervous when people tell me they listen, like face to face. I'm like, oh God.
And I don't know if I'm necessarily the target audience, but
you're probably not.
I'm like, you break up with that boy. But for what it's worth, I've really enjoyed the work that you're doing, and I like the approach, and I feel like you're really strong on the community front. Like off air, I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? Because that's something that I've not historically got my head wrapped around. It's just like how to consistently and actively engage your community, because I've been a bit of like a lone kind of. You saw me at Beyond the Valley. I just feel like.
Yeah, I know.
Peace out. I'll see you in 10 minutes. I don't know. But yes, I really, really like the work that you're doing. So good job.
You. That means a lot.
Of course. But aside from that, like vulnerability is a key part of your content. Have there been any like, and people are scared of vulnerability. People are really scared of being vulnerable. So like for the listeners, what's an example of a time where vulnerability has been unexpectedly and like unequivocally positive?
Yeah. So really how this all started was back on TikTok in September of 2021. I had gone through a breakup and I had shared my breakup and healing journey on TikTok. And I think I was sharing things that people don't usually share when it comes to a breakup. Yeah. Because people are
like what?
Just like crying, being sad about it, talking about like going no contact, talking about missing him, getting rid of his things like that. People weren't really posting about things like that.
How long were these pieces of content? Would you just like get the camera and just send it and then post it? Or was it like more curated?
It was a bit of both. I did like healing vlogs. Like it would be like day one of my breakup and I've cried all day today and I haven't eaten. And my friends sent me a bunch of flowers. Like I was down bad. And I was also down so bad that I did not care what anybody thought. I didn't care if people thought, this bitch, she's so sad. Like, isn't she embarrassed? I didn't even care. I was just like, I'm hurting. This is a place for me to express it. And what that did was my content got put out to people that were also going through a breakup. So I had started to build a community of people that were going through it as well.
Sad girls club.
Saddie club. And then in a way, they were telling me that they felt less alone, but I was like, no, I feel less alone, because suddenly I was being validated by my comments, or I was being validated because I was then seeing other content like that as well. And it was one of the worst things I went through. It was a breakup that like I did not expect because I just didn't see it coming. He just woke up one day and was like, I don't want to be with you. And I was like, thanks. What did I do? I really internalized that.
Yeah.
And I shared that whole process, and it got to a point where I was over the breakup and I just didn't want to be the girl that was heartbroken on TikTok. And so I pivoted my content, but
to glow up phase.
Glow up? Yeah. The glow up era? Saddie to baddie. That's the era. Literally, that's what it was.
You've said that way too many times.
I know. I have. That was like the tagline, Saddie to baddie. Because that's what happened. And I slowly started becoming myself again. I started becoming Adele again. And that was what grew like the first bulk of like my TikTok following. So I grew to about 70,000 followers on TikTok by doing that. And that was like the catalyst and the butterfly effect for everything else. So vulnerability was a great thing for me then.
You're the second Adele to make a career out of a breakup.
Her career is way more successful.
For now. All right, none of that. You might start singing soon. Like, can you sing?
I love singing, but I can't sing. I love singing, but I can't sing.
Would you sing a bar?
Maybe at the end.
You can do my jingle.
Okay.
I'll make a jingle.
I can do the jingle for you.
Oh, do jingle.
Oh my God, he's writing it in the notes. Damn it. He's not going to forget.
Well, the thing with the notes is I'm pretty ADHD.
Okay.
I don't think that's just like my self-diagnosis, but
yeah,
I'll talk to you and then I'll have like idea. I need to put them somewhere real quick. I might never come back to it, but at least it's like
it's there.
It's down.
I love that.
Yeah. Therapy sounds important to you.
So important.
So what concepts are you undertaking on the therapeutical basis, and like how has it impacted your life?
Yeah. So my therapist specializes in CBT therapy, and I really just love her so much and love everything that she's taught me because she helped me. I went to therapy because at the time I was having really bad panic attacks, and it was making it very difficult for me.
When was this?
In 2020.
Yeah.
At the time I was living interstate. I was in Sydney. I hadn't seen my family for quite some time. I was under a lot of pressure at work. There were not many pillars that I had to like support me mentally.
Yeah. And
so my mental health was just trending downward, and it was making it very difficult for me to like perform and like live day to day. Yeah. So I ended up in therapy. And
was that something where one day you woke up and you thought, fuck, I got to do something about this? Or did someone kick you up the ass to do it?
My friends.
Okay.
Yeah. And thank God for them. Good friends.
What do you think would have happened if they didn't?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd even be here.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
It was that bad?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
So really grateful for them. And they know it. I always tell them. But it changed my life because for so long I had partaken in very like questionable, probably maladaptive coping behaviors and repeated certain patterns in my life. Yeah.
Sex.
Just
like
looking to like fill
TikTok.
a void. I wasn't on TikTok then.
Really?
This was like pre-social media.
Okay.
But
Pre-social media, you're really showing your age there.
I know. But I had been doing so many things without really understanding why. And I had found myself in circumstances and situations without understanding why. So through going to see my therapist, I was able to learn so much about myself, so much about my childhood, so much about the dynamic between my parents, between my sister, between past relationships, between friendships, between whatever activities or things I was choosing to cope with. And she taught me how to pick healthier coping mechanisms, how to pick healthier thought patterns, how to get myself out of an anxiety attack, what systems we need to set up, what processes we need to have in place. And I was in crisis then, so I would need to see her quite frequently. But since 2020, I've still seen her not as frequently. Like, I only really need to see her frequently if I'm like in crisis or if I'm going like through it. But I can usually get by seeing her every like 6 to 8 weeks if things are going pretty well. Even if things are going well, I still like to see her because it's like I still learn things. I still get value from it. I'm still able to unpack some stuff with her. It's also nice to have someone that like validates you and gets you, like totally gets you.
Yeah.
So,
but also at the same time doesn't really care that much. Like, I like the fine dynamic where they're here for you, but also like whatever you do, they're not going to be like,
literally. And it's nice because for so long I had also held myself to like a very unrelenting standard, and also maybe being quite negative and critical of myself for majority of my life until I started therapy.
Where do you think that came from?
My childhood. Yeah, probably my parents.
How come?
I just think when they're holding you to a certain standard, when they're maybe only showing you praise when you do something really good or when you achieve something.
So do you have a praise king still? Or have you worked through that?
I'm working through it, but I do have a bit of a praise king. So, and bless my parents. And even when I worked through all of this in therapy, I was like, they were just doing the best they could.
Yeah.
My parents
They're fallible humans.
Absolutely. Going through it for the first time. They had me, my dad was 21. My mum was 23 or 24.
The babies.
Kids. Imagine me having a kid at 21, 24. Thank God I didn't.
Yeah.
Like, and credit to anybody else who is having kids young, but they were just
grow up fast though.
Yeah, they were kids having kids and doing their best, and they did the best that they could at that time. And for the most part, I don't think I turned out that fucked up, but it definitely showed me how your childhood and how your upbringing can then impact you years later as an adult, years later in your behavior, years later in your relationships. It's a bit insane. So, I think that's where it came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like with when I have kids, I'm going to have like a therapy fund for them.
Yeah.
and I'll be like, I'm sorry in advance. I don't know what I've done, but I've definitely done something.
Literally. Well, you know what? That's what scares me about the thought of having kids.
Oh, you got no chance. You're going to fuck them up. Just you got to accept it.
I know.
You got to accept it.
I think to myself, I'm like, wow, it's so easy to fuck a kid up. Like,
yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah. You just.
It's really scary.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But the more work you do on yourself.
Yes.
The more you'll attract a partner who's also probably done work on themselves.
Yeah.
And then the combination of you both sorting most of your shit out.
Yeah.
And then having a child will result in you guys being like, we could probably figure this one out a bit more healthily than the alternative approaches that you can go down.
Yeah. And I think that also is a bit of a testament to like how far the world has come as well. Because I look back at my parents' generation and I look back at my grandparents' generation. They didn't talk about mental health.
No.
They didn't talk about coping in a healthy way. They didn't talk about the things that we talk about now. Which
they had wars to fight. They had bigger things to deal with.
Correct. So I think given the circumstances, they probably did pretty good.
Yeah. You
Whereas
know what though?
now we have the tools, which is a blessing and a curse at the same time.
You know what though? I think, and this is just me riffing off the top right now, that they did have mental health tools, but they were just in a different format. So I think they were a lot more religious.
Yeah.
And the religious frameworks, as much as people shit on them these days, have some pretty good guidelines on how to live a like well-balanced life. And I'm noticing that because our generation and the next generation have really rejected religion in any form, we're feeling lost. Because now we're taking, the human experience has been around for tens of thousands of years, trying to figure it out from the beginning. Like we're not relying on anything from the past.
Yeah.
Like the Daily Stoic, for example.
Yeah.
That book pretty much has the logic behind it that the older the problem, the older the solution. So, the human experience is not really changing that much. We're the same chaotic apes.
True.
but now we've just got other things that challenge us. But so I think we have to go down what is actually going on in our mental health path. Like, who do we look up to? Instead of looking up to like God or Jesus or whatever, we're looking up to people that have social media followings. So with that in mind, you've got there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say I do also really advocate for professional like help and professional.
Finding Jesus.
No, but I'm not religious at all.
Neither am I, by the way. I'm just curious.
But yeah, I know how fine the line is, and I never want anybody to take my content as like gospel and take my content as like, what would Adele do? Like, we have to live like this. I always say, take my advice with a grain of salt. I'm just trying to be like a big sister.
Yeah.
Ask me what you would want to ask your big sister.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily going to have all the answers for you. If I can hold space and you can figure it out, great. If I can like share my mistakes, so then you're like, maybe I don't want to make that same mistake.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But I always say, like, if you need that professional help, it will help you so much and can change your life so much. There are things that I can't do for you that therapy can, that medication can, that getting professional help can.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
Yeah, lots of pressure, but I also tread the line very carefully.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, there is a lot of pressure. But the reality is you're in a position to help, and you're in a position to help at scale. So if you take that seriously, like, you know, and really consider, which I think you are, how you're contributing to the world, you can do a lot of good.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful place to be in. So
special.
Good luck.
Thank
you. Before we go on, I had a couple little like side tangents on the therapy thing, because therapy was one of the, between meditation and therapy, were the two like life-changing things that I've done, that have just helped with all of this chaos.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were having anxiety attacks, and was that like panic attack level kind of things? Yeah, we love those.
Yeah.
So just on I like to be sometimes specific and actionable with this podcast. So what were the actual specific processes that you were taught by your therapist to get yourself back, you know, to a normal baseline from a point of heightened anxiety to the point of attack?
Yeah. So a lot of it had to do with breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Also taking myself out of like whatever setting I was in, because like I was having anxiety attacks like in public, like in shopping centers.
So you're running.
At restaurants. Immediately like get to a bathroom, try to put some like cold water on me.
Yeah.
Also having like really minty chewies or like really minty mints.
Yeah.
To like kind of like
snap you out of it.
Snap me out of it a little bit. Yeah.
Sure.
We had like some breathing techniques, and then I would also call somebody or call a friend or someone that I trusted to just talk me through it, because it was at the point where like my brain would just run rampant, and then I would be like, oh my God, I can't breathe. And then I really couldn't breathe, and then it would just continue.
So what's a specific example of like one of those experiences and the conversations you've had with a friend?
Yeah. So once I was out, and this was in Sydney, I was out at a restaurant. We were at lunch, and it was also a really hot day as well, but I was just feeling like very suffocated in this room. Mm-hmm. And again, I couldn't even like pinpoint like what triggered it, but I just felt like my throat was like closing. I felt so hot. I felt like I just wanted to like rip my skin off.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to leave this table. Like and my friend's like, what the fuck is going on? Because he also hadn't witnessed this at all. Yeah. So like I run to the bathroom. I'm literally struggling to breathe.
Yeah.
He comes to the door and he's outside, and he's like, if you need anything, I'm here. So I'm like splashing water on my chest, trying to like put it on the back of my neck, trying to like center my breathing, trying to take a really slow inhale, exhale, just remind myself like I'm here, I'm safe, and repeat like I'm safe, like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like you're not actually not breathing. Like you're going to be okay. Yeah. And I just waited in there until I did settle and until I did calm down. And then I spoke to him about it, because I was like, well, he's here. We can talk about it. We ended up leaving this place because I was like, I can't go back. We have to go to somewhere new. Can't go back in there. And he was really like grounding, very calm, very understanding, great friend of mine, still a great friend to this day. And he was able to like hold that space for me as well. But yeah, I'm thankful it has been a little while since I've had one of those. So
That's good.
yeah, but breathing and just trying to like center that is so important. I think people also undervalue like how much like your breath and can control your state. It's insane.
Well, for anyone listening, there's like the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So you're in your sympathetic nervous system when you're having a panic attack, and think of like your energy levels are up here and you want to bring yourself back down. And something that's been super helpful for me is like helpful for sleep. It's helpful for situations like this is 5-2-7 breathing. So it's super simple. 5 in, hold for 2, out for 7.
Love
and then
that.
do 6 of those.
Yeah.
And once you do 6 of those, I keep doing it where I'm like, I can't be bothered. Like once I do 6 of them, I'm like,
you're like,
why didn't I do that an hour ago?
Like, so true.
Yeah. So the breath, it's very powerful. So after the podcast with the NFL guy, we hit it off, and then he had a breathwork session like that night, and on air I'm like, can I come? Yeah, sure.
Love that.
So I ended up going to this breathwork session, and I've done a bit of breathwork here and there. Like I've, went through a really intense ice bath phase where like the longest time I was sat in an ice bath was like 23 minutes or something.
Oh my goodness.
It's like crazy stuff like that. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's like 30-second cold showers right now, but
that's still good for you.
Yeah, it's great for you.
Yeah.
It's not nuts.
I've never done an ice bath.
It's a lot.
They scare me.
It's a lot. But I liked it. I'm a pretty warm person anyway, so
yeah.
I'm just chilling. No, lie. It's actually it's full on. But anyway, so I've had some experience with breathing. I've done a lot of meditation. I like get it. I kind of get it. So I do this breathwork session, and this thing went for an hour and a half.
Wow.
It was a lot. And this is the first breathwork session I've done where I've like you see videos of people just like losing the plot from these things. Have you ever seen them?
Yeah.
I did that.
Okay.
Like I've had a pretty intense, as you know, like with the festivals and stuff, and life's been kind of chaotic. I've had a pretty intense 6 months, maybe actually probably 18 months. And I haven't been able to just like let go. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, I fucking pour my eyes out. And then it's crazy. And then I felt like a pain in my shoulder that came up as I was breathing.
Yeah.
And, you would sometimes fight it or just like slow down what you're doing. But from my practices and experiences, I focused on it and kind of pushed into it. Mm-hmm. And then I was shaking. It was like my body was released. It was really wild.
That's crazy.
And I'm not a hippie.
No,
I'm corporate as fuck.
That's impressive.
It's a thing. I mean, it wasn't me. I was guided by a good facilitator.
Yeah.
And just sent it.
I love that. I've also never done a breathwork class, but this might be my inspiration to do one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it took some time to get to the point where I could understand the sorry. Okay. Producer's just waved. We've just started giggling. Yeah, so it's taken some time to get to the point where I'm
can fully trust and relax and really
not even relax, just be this pain that I'm feeling, a lot of the times mental issues manifest through physical pain. And I learned that in the meditation course that I did. And they can be let go of. So I just thought, oh, well, let's try this. and it worked. Honestly, I was shaking and I can only imagine what I'll ask him when I see him next. I can only imagine what it looked like.
What it looked like, yeah.
I sound like a fucking kook. Anyway.
No, you don't.
Anyway, so the point I'm making is breath, super powerful, way more powerful than you could ever believe. And yeah, just start by breathing into your stomach.
Yeah, actually breathing, not just breathing here.
Which is Get that stomach out. Get that little belly going.
Yeah. Create the belly.
Create the belly.
I feel like most people just default and breathe to here.
Well, they don't know any different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm conscious of time now, but just before we do move on, you briefly mentioned that your friends helped you get to the point of going to therapy. As a friend, if there's any friends listening right now, what was the way that actually resonated with you? Because it's very challenging to actually, pierce someone's brain when they're in that cloudy state of, fear and depression and sadness. So what worked for you, and what would you recommend from that experience working for potentially other people?
Yeah. So I think my friends continued to show up for me and tried to show up for me in a few different ways. It was initially them offering like for me to go and stay with them, or them offering to like come and stay with me and like be with me so that I could like try and get some sleep and things like that.
Oh, so you weren't sleeping?
No,
That's such a spiral.
Wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping. It was just getting way out of hand.
And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I understand.
Yeah. So they were pretty persistent, but overall I just felt that they were so kind, and it wasn't like they weren't coming from like a place of judgment. It was like they really cared for me. They also had gone through similar things and were able to like be vulnerable with me and share their experience and share things that they had gone through, and showed me that it's okay to get help, because I had a lot of shame around like getting help, and I had a lot of, because I was like, I shouldn't be feeling like this. I should have it together.
You're the eldest. You need a lead. You can't be broken down. Yeah.
I don't need help.
Yeah.
Me? Who me? No. But I did. And I was able to be open to that, because I guess, they were able to be vulnerable with me, which was really special and I was grateful for. And there was also a part of me that was like, well, I know I can't keep doing this for much longer.
Yeah.
Like, so someone does have to help me.
Yeah. It's okay to get help. It's okay to ask for help. Especially for any like I've gone through this exact same thing of just like, you got to pick yourself up and no one can be there for you. But there's a much more beautiful world out there when you learn to ask for help. And you can get so much more happening. Exactly.
Even it's not that bad. Like what I'm going through is not that bad. I don't need help for that. Like that's just invalidating yourself as well. It doesn't necessarily need to be super bad either. But if you feel like you need help, that's probably a sign you need help.
Yeah. And therapy specifically is a spectrum, right? So a good friend of mine is a psychologist, and like I understood this intuitively, but he mapped it out specifically for me when we caught up one time, and he's like, think of your mental state from -10 to a 10. Most people go into therapy at -10. They're like, I've cooked it.
Yes.
This is it. I'm about to jump off a cliff. Like seriously, that's where that's at. To get them back to like a 0. However, you can use these tools if you're at like a 4 to get to a 9.
Yep.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It's not just when things are fucked.
Yeah.
So I have this idea of like, I'll probably go see a therapist, for the rest of my life, because there's going to be new challenges coming through, and I'm going to keep growing and changing as a person as it kind of like, as life goes on. So I love it.
Me too. I agree with that.
I love it.
I can't see a life where I'm not looking after that part of my mental health. The same way I go to the gym and look after my physical health, I'm going to see a therapist and look after my mental health.
Yeah.
Even if things are happy and dandy and I'm feeling like a 9.
Yeah.
Change is inevitable.
Yeah.
There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be hardships. Like that's a guarantee in life.
Yeah, exactly.
So why not keep nurturing that part of me?
Exactly. I'm going to pull back a little bit and make it a little bit more lighthearted and a different approach as we like wind up. But I wanted to talk about the content side of things a little bit more, not the like mindset behind the content, but like the strategic side of the content. So like strategically, for anyone interested in going down a similar path to you, did you know what the 80-20 principle is?
No.
So basically the 80-20 principle is this thing called I might misspell it, but the Pareto principle. And the idea is that like there's certain actions that you can take that have outsized impact. So in life and, relationships and everything, there's these small key things that you can do that will have the most amount of leverage to the direction you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
It's called the 80-20 principle.
I'm going to look it up after this.
Yeah, it's cool. So basically, something that you put in 20% of the effort with 80% of the outcome. So like maybe you've got, the idea could be that you eat the same 20% of foods 80% of the time. You spend with the same 20% of people 80% of your time. You have 20% of your life's 80% of your life's problems come from 20% of people and things.
Okay. I'm following.
And it's a consistent thing. So like, what would be the three most impactful things that somebody could do to move into the content world?
Oh, firstly, showing up, like just actually showing up and pushing past that fear and pushing past that judgment and self-doubt and caring what people think. I feel like that stops a lot of people from doing the things that they really want to do.
Assuming they've showed up. They're like, I'm in,
okay,
I'm doing this,
showed up. All right.
We're done.
All right, consistency then.
Everyone says consistency.
People love consistency. You will thrive in consistency, but people also love consistency. I'll give you an example. I release a podcast episode every Thursday, every Sunday. People will dedicate time on their Thursday and Sunday to listen to that podcast. If one week I release a podcast on a Tuesday and a Friday, the next week I release it on a Wednesday and a Saturday, I'm not going to build trust with my listeners. I'm not going to be a part of their lifestyle because I'm not being consistent. So consistency would be the first one.
I'm going to call out my producer here. Every Wednesday.
Yeah. I tell you, people love a routine.
Do you communicate that like episodes out every Thursday and Sunday? So I'm so ad hoc and off the cuff with like the way I communicate. I'm like, here's another episode.
Well, that's also okay. There's going to be people who...
But it is weekly, every week.
Well, there you go. You do have consistency.
Yeah.
So you're already on the right track.
This isn't about me though.
No. I'll then say showing up authentically.
Yeah.
So you'll go further by just being you and remembering that you are an individual human and not to be like, I'm not like other people, but it's like you are you and that is your power. Use it. You've lived your life. What about that can you share? How can you add value? What are you passionate about? What do you enjoy? Tap into that. There's no point trying to show up in a inauthentic way or as someone you're not, because you are not going to be able to withstand that long term. It's going to be a short game. If you want to play a long game, be you.
Everyone else is taken.
Be consistent, be you. And then, I want to say stay grounded. Don't let, if a video flops or an episode flops, don't let it bring you down. Treat it as data. Treat it as information.
Well, on that note, how deep into the data do you go with your content and the work that you do?
Pretty deep. Like I monitor the stats and the information. I love data. I'm a very data-driven person. So,
corporate girl.
corporate girl coming out. Every month we look at what were the top podcasts, what content performs well.
Yeah. And what are you looking for exactly?
Like downloads, streams. Yeah. It's a bit hard because the data we get on a podcast is not as great as what you'd get on TikTok or on TikTok, you get the full breakdown. You can see if they're from Sydney, if they're from Melbourne, how old they are. Yeah. With a podcast, you just see X amount of people listened. But I can very clearly see that maybe 10,000 people listen to that sex episode and only 2,000 people maybe listen to that career episode. I need to talk about sex more. Do you know what I mean? So use the data to your advantage and don't be scared to try new things.
Yeah.
My content has changed so much over the years and it will probably keep changing. Sometimes the algorithm is going to want different things from you. Don't be afraid to trial something new.
How do you split up your week? So how many hours are you spending on each platform and what does a week look like?
Yeah. So for YouTube, I release 2 YouTube videos. In terms of filming, editing, I probably would spend a good day on YouTube. I do a weekly vlog on there, which is I'm vlogging every single day, but I don't vlog the whole 24 hours. I vlog maybe 4 hours of footage that gets cut down into the vlog that people see. I also do a second video. The podcast is probably my biggest load of energy because I would prep for the episodes. I research for the episodes. I come into the studio every single Tuesday. I then also do the final edit of everything. I do have editing help, which has saved me a lot of time.
That's good.
I get the podcast and YouTube like edited first, then I watch the final, which is great.
Yeah.
And then
do you re-edit them if you want to
sometimes it might be like 3 to 5 changes.
Okay.
Not that many.
Yeah.
It depends on how chatty and annoying I think I am. Sometimes if I'm in a bad mood, I'm like, oh, I need to cut that out. I sound like an idiot. And then on TikTok, I show up there probably most. I'm on there. I post like 3 to 5-ish TikToks a day. If I'm feeling really good.
A day?
If I'm feeling really good.
What? A day?
I used to post like 8 to 10 TikToks a day. I used to be unhinged on TikTok.
What do you post? What?
Go look at my TikTok. What do I post? I love TikTok.
Wow.
So, and then on top of that, I will stay active, obviously, on the Your Safe Space Facebook group. I moderate that a couple times throughout the day. So I would say I spend maybe like 30 to 35 hours across all platforms. But I'm very lucky because I can make that work to my schedule and change my hours. And last Monday, I worked from the beach.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
What job can you do that? Do you know what I mean? So
are you like an efficient, like smash it out?
yeah.
Yeah. I think
And
that's...
I time block as well. So I'm like, this hour, we're just doing the podcast.
Yeah.
This hour, we're just doing YouTube.
Yeah.
This hour, I'm doing podcast planning. So I like to schedule it.
Yeah.
And I work on a list system too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I get a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a challenge I've had. I'm starting to go down the like list system going into the calendar. And then,
I love a calendar.
yeah, that's what I'm working towards, because historically it's been like, even today, it's still like that, but I'm getting less and less anxious about that list. It's like, I'm not going to get it all done, whatever. But yeah, it's really blocking the time in and just getting a bit clearer on how long things are going to actually take.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, again, going back to the ADHD thing, I think that's an ADHD trait where you don't have any gauge of time. And then I'm doing a certain task and I'm just distracted by everything else going on. So I've got an app on my phone called Opal that like wipes every app that I like. It's gone. I can't get into it. I can't see any notifications. It's gone.
Oh, I love
and I've
that.
set the days. So I have every day from like 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. It's like work mode. All of these apps are blocked. And then from like 8 p.m. till 6 a.m. it's like night mode.
Sleep
so
mode.
All the other apps except for text are blocked. And you can go into them, but to go into them you have to do like a 7-second countdown, and you have to set like a break time. So I'll like throughout the day I'll like break into it a fair bit.
Yeah.
But at least it's just one step more annoying.
Yes. And it puts a little bit of a barrier between you just defaulting to like getting distracted.
Yeah.
I really like that. Opal.
Opal.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, use my I don't have a code.
Oh, damn.
All right, how are we looking? Do we have any more time? Can I do a rapid fire, or you want to call it a day?
It's up to Adele. It's 12:12.
Okay, how quick is the rapid fire?
Depends how quick your answers
I'll be
are.
quick. All right, let's quickly do the rapid fire.
All right. Well, this is the first question of the rapid fire is, what's the kindest thing anyone's ever done for you?
Ooh.
Not really a rapid question, but it's a good question.
Oh, what's the kindest thing anyone's ever done for me? Love me for who I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rapid. What's your ideal morning and evening routine look like?
Morning, gym session, my coffee, my little love heart mug, Nescafe vanilla latte. I'm a creature of habit. It's got to be that.
Yeah.
Night routine, my skincare, hot shower, skincare, cup of tea, and in bed by like 10 p.m.
Nice. What, if you could give one sentence of advice to you from 10 years ago, what would it be?
Don't take everything so personally.
Why are you calling me out like that?
And it'll be okay.
Okay.
Life is going to work out. Yeah.
If you could recommend only one book for someone to read to have the most impact in their life, what would it be?
Can I give 2?
Sure.
The Daily Stoic.
Mm-hmm.
Love that book so much. You guys have already heard it about 10 times in this episode. And
Use my promo code.
yeah, we don't have a code. And Ikigai.
Ah, yeah.
Love that book.
Yeah, Ikigai.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And what's one thing that somebody could change or make? What's one change somebody could make in their life today to begin to live a life similar to yours?
Oh, that's not a rapid fire question.
All right, well, scrap it.
No,
Unless you want to answer
we
it.
won't scrap it. What's one thing they can do? They can make some space and get clear on what they want their life to look like.
Well, that's an hour-long podcast just
I
talking
know.
about that. So we'll pause that one. And that's everything I had. Is there anything you're excited about at the moment that like you want to let the listeners in on?
Yeah. I'm excited for this year.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had a bit of a rough last 6 months, had some personal stuff going on, but for the plot, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I feel like, we're mid-Feb now. We've still got so much time ahead of us, and I'm excited just to see what this year will bring.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And where can people find you if they're interested?
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. My handle is @Adele Maree, and my podcast is Your Safe Space, and that's on Spotify and Apple.
Love it. And just a last little easy question. What is the meaning of life?
Oh my God. Last easy question. The meaning of life is to... Fuck, what can I say for that one?
Say what feels right.
Leave a good impact on the world and on people around you.
So improve it where you can.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you,
Adele.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you for having me. And now I just need to get you to do that jingle.
Oh, yeah. What's the jingle?
I don't know. You make up the jingle. That
one-time podcast with Adam and Adele. Please subscribe and give us 5 stars.
I never say that either, so I got to start doing that.
You got to start doing that.
Yeah,
Guys, if you love Adam, give him 5 stars. If you love me, give him 5 stars.